If you ask me if I've ever felt left behind, I'd say yes. And that is because I've had my fair share of that feeling. Can you believe that the day my two sisters got married, I cried, I cried. And I think that was majorly because I felt left behind. Yes. Hi, you're listening to Thrive and So podcast, a podcast dedicated to help you thrive in every facet of life. I'm your host, Theodora Nadi. If you're a returning listener, I love you. And if this is your first time tuning in, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate that. On this podcast, I share contents related to personal development, faith, wellness, and so much more that will help you thrive in every facet of life. So stay tuned and let's see what we've got today. But yeah, before I start, I'd like to make some comment about this weather. I'm still surprised how we move from saying we're outside and then we just get back inside again. The temperature at the moment is 1 degree. Yes, and it's surprising. It was 17 degrees, or was it 20 something the day before yesterday? And yesterday was a bit better. I'd say 3 degrees, and I was outside. And I must tell you, my face was freezing, and I couldn't hold my phone for more than 2 minutes. I needed to just bring it out, check something, put it back inside my pocket because my hands needs to get back inside the pocket to get warm. So that is it about the weather here. And so at the moment it's a bit snowy and yeah, that is it. Well, I don't know if I should be excited about it or if what I must confess, it may be the best weather for some people, but for me, it's not the best weather. And so that is it. Whenever I talk about the feeling of being left behind, one thing I think about is that life has never presented itself in a way that we all are born together or presented itself in a way that we are meant to move at the same pace. No. And that is why I say that, the feeling of being left behind is something that can be considered common. It's something that we can see in our everyday life. I don't know about you, but from personal experience, I think that is something that occurs there and then. And but then I feel the problem with this feeling is what comes out of it. What comes out of it, and not about whether it comes up or not, is how you use the feeling, what you use it for. Certainly, when we move at different pace, for example, I'm looking out through the window at the moment, and then there are two people running a race or possibly just taking a walk over there, and it's very easy for you to look ahead of you and say, oh, I remember starting off this walk with this person at a certain point, and then right at the moment it looks as if he or she is ahead of you. So that is just a feeling that can come up even while you're just doing one of the most of the basic things in your everyday life. Like I just said, while you're taking a walk or possibly doing an assignment or possibly, yes, because if it's in Igbo language, that is my language, you will say, you can possibly say, ha, please leave me, or let me go, and or no, you say rapumo biko, let me kanga me, something like this. Whatever I say, just like hapum kanga me here because ni be me mesigoya. Ibeme Mesigia. So emphasis on the Ibeme Mesigia. That is like in English is others have done theirs. Please allow me to go and do this, that because others have done theirs. I can say, okay, please just maybe over the phone, and I'm speaking with a friend or possibly just anybody, and then I'm like, okay, please can you just allow me do this? And the others have submitted theirs, but I'm still on it. I need to get it done and submit. And so that is just one of the basic feelings. So it's not something I can actually say, don't, or I will never, or because it just occurs unconsciously. It just comes up unconsciously without you knowing. But then at the end of the day, is the effect this feeling has on the people around you or in your life that matters. The effect that feeling is going to give off on the people around you or in your life is dependent on the position of your heart, right? How do you position your heart? Because when I think about it, I feel, or let me just say that one of the most common cause I can liken to that feeling is an unconscious comparison. Yes, it is an unconscious comparison. Back to the example I made about two people running a race, or not even a race, just taking a walk. Yes, for example, I can't walk fast. I like walking slowly. I feel comfortable walking slowly. So even when I'm taking a walk, brisk walking is not for me, right? So it's easy for me while on a walk, or maybe I probably started a walk with my friend to say, my friend is almost done, and then I'm here, right? So back to that, then what do you use that feeling? It's just an unconscious comparison because at that point in time, you are not thinking about that comparison. It just comes out from nowhere, right? But then what you do with that unconscious comparison is what matters, if you ask me, is what matters. Because when you think about it, one step away from that unconscious comparison is how we get the jealousy we see, and how we get the depression we see. There is no how you can talk about the feeling of being left behind without talking about that unconscious comparison, because there would always be a yardstick with which you measure something. And that yardstick is what you're comparing where you are and that of others. That way, that is the time when you will be like, what am I doing here when others are there? And why, in the name of God, am I still on this level and the rest of them? At the end of the day, you find out that yes, there are days when you have to ask, why am I still here? And oh, this person is already there. And even when you don't want to, and maybe it could be because of the unconscious comparison that just comes up and triggers that feeling of being left behind that I talked about, right? So, and this is why the position of your heart is very important. It's very important. Like the book of Mark 7 verse 20 says, it is what comes out of a person that defiles the person. If you're going to be talking about jealousy, if you're going to be talking about depression, which are the effects of the feeling of being left behind, we're going to be talking about the position of our hearts, because it is what you breed, it is what you nurture that would determine if jealousy and depression will be a factor in your life, right? So when I talk about the position of your heart, it means asking, is your heart focused on contentment? Is your heart focused on gratitude? Is your heart focused on understanding that you are where you are because, okay, fine, this is where your ability can this is how far your ability can come, and there are a lot of things that influence every level we attain in life. Yes, there are a lot of things, but majorly the most important thing is that all of us cannot walk at the same pace, and all of us cannot be at the same level at the same time. And it is very common for you for that unconscious comparison to just come in and make you to feel as if you're being left behind. But while all this is happening, how well are you sitting on that unconscious comparison? You understand? Like when such feeling comes up, there is a case of you sitting on it or letting it escalate to breed the negative effects that may impact your life and that of the people around you. Are you sitting on it? That is why I often suggest, okay, yes, the unconscious comparison can just creep in without you even knowing. But then we have to learn how to sit on them and not let them escalate, let them breed into jealousy. Because I tell you that one step away from that unconscious comparison that causes the feeling of being left behind, then you are already in a place where jealousy is 18 or depression is 18. Yes. So the everything boils down to positioning our heart in such a way that contentment is a thing, gratitude is a thing, and understanding is a thing. And when I talk about this, I'm going to bring it into a personal experience. Like I said, when my sisters got married, when my other sister got married, I remember crying that evening as I was seeing her off to enter the car and follow her husband people home, her husband and her people home, right? I remember crying, and that particular day I cried, and everybody saw me. In fact, my younger brother was crying with me too. I guess my younger sister was crying too. I don't know, we were crying. But maybe because we are going to miss her, maybe at that point. And then a few years later, my younger sister also got married. And I also remember that evening while I was seeing her off, I was fighting my tears. I wanted to cry, but I just didn't want them to see me cry. I just didn't want people to see me cry. So I was holding it in. But at the end of the day, I ended up crying. But when I thought that was the end of it, that midnight, that night, she was no longer at home. She's gone. And like my sister wasn't even in the country at that moment. So she didn't attend. So it was just I and my brothers. And that night, I woke up in the middle of the night to urinate. And so after urinating, I don't know what. I just think, I remember the last feeling, the feeling of the previous day, which was me crying that my sister is no longer at home, or she has gone to her husband's house. So I managed to open my door and I stepped out of my room, went to the next room. It was my younger sister's room. I opened the door, she wasn't there. She has gone to her husband's house, and then I opened the first room. My elder sister wasn't there too. She has gone to her husband's house, and then I looked around me and I realized that, like we always say, that wing I shared with my two sisters was now empty, and it was just only me in that wing. So that night I cried, and even if the tears I shed the day my sister got married, and the day my other sister got married, and the day, and that evening, a day before that my younger sister left the house, if that one could be a case of me, oh, I'm going to miss them and the rest of them. But that night it was a case of me feeling left behind. Yes, that night I felt left behind. I remembered a whole lot of things, a whole lot of memories we shared, and I just realize that those days are not going to come back, right? And amidst me thinking about those, I felt, oh my goodness, I can't believe I am the only one left in this house, left in this wing. Emphasis on the left. Yes, I am the only one left. And I also remember that the next day I left the house and I went to see a friend, and from there went back to where I stayed with my parents in the city. And my mom called me the next day and was asking if I would come back. And I told her that I wasn't going to come back. And I don't even know when I'd be coming back to our hometown, that I wasn't going to be coming back anytime soon, right? And me taking that decision was just a case of okay, I don't want to go back to thinking, oh, goodness me, I can't believe I'm the only one left here, right? And so that was why I told them that I wasn't going to go to our hometown till when I'm ready, right? So I left home. I just didn't go back to my hometown, but I lived with my parents in the city, right? So basically, I see them, and whenever they have to go to the hometown, to our hometown, it's not as if these are people I I served their breakfast before they left, or probably served their dinner before they left the next morning. So yeah, I see them every other day. So I just don't want to get back to that place where I will feel left behind. I will feel as if, oh, my sisters they've moved on, they've gone to their family, they've gone to their husband's house, and here I am stuck in my parents' house, right? So that is why I say that even that feeling of being left behind, it's something I've had my fair share of experience with in big things and different aspects of my life, right? And there are days I just look around me and then I can't even like hold on to what triggered the feeling. And that is why I said that most of the times, a majority of the times, is a case of unconscious comparison. Yes, that moment I guess I was, oh, my sisters are, because you can't talk about comparison when there is no yardstick. Yes, I talk about, oh, they've moved on and I am the only one left, right? So this is where the position of my heart comes in. Contentment. Okay, fine. While I am here, it is okay to be here. That is contentment for me. It is okay to be here now for the meantime until I'm able to also leave, and then we're able to call each other from our houses or from our new homes, right? Okay, and then there is also a case of the gratitude, positioning my heart to be grateful for where I am. And this comes into play when we think about the fact that why you're feeling left behind in this aspect. There are other places where there are other aspects of your life where someone else is also feeling left behind. That is to say that you may be on level two here, and then in another aspect of your life, you're on level eight, and then on another aspect of your life, you're on level six. So it's just like, let me just say, staircase here, there, and then different aspects of your life placed on different level, and the same applies to another person. And although the different aspects of our life can be placed interchangeably, like level two for this person, level eight for this person. So at the end of the day, we look around us and then we realize that it's not as if we're not making progress. It's not as if we're not making progress in other aspects of our life. There are places where we're making progress. I tell you, I'm saying this, I'm saying this with certainty that there are places, and I'm sure that there are aspects of our life where we're making progress, right? Although sometimes those the progress we make, there are progresses we make that are unrecognizable, but yes, I tell you that for every day you wake up there is progress. Yes, because, well, yes, so I'm very serious about this, because at the end of the day, sometimes when we feel left behind, when we feel like we're not making progress, is because there is a yardstick with which you are measuring. If there is no yardstick for you to measure, I tell you that a case of contentment will be an easy thing, and then a case of gratitude will be an easy thing. I remember one time my other sister said to me that, that while you're counting this one, remember that you've also attained this one while another person has not attained it. And then I look around me, and that is true. It is true. Because while you're counting, oh, okay, this one is not moving as expected, oh, this one has already exceeded your expectations. And then at the end of the day, when you look around, look deeper, you will see the even the unrecognizable ones. You will see reasons to be grateful for the unrecognizable ones, and the ones that can be recognized by others, because there are progresses we make and others can barely see it, and maybe you are the one seeing it, and sometimes you can even barely see it yourself, and others are the ones seeing it. At the end of the day, I believe that there is still a part of us that 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 a part of us, or like there is still a reason why we have to be grateful. So that is it about contentment, and that is it about gratitude. And then talking about understanding, okay. For example, going back to what I said about two people taking a walk, probably I'm taking a walk with a friend. Definitely, I'm not a fast walker. I don't walk fast. I can't even do brisk walking. Yes, because it doesn't work for me. And because it doesn't work for me, there is every like there is a likelihood that the person I'm working with will move faster than me and will get ahead of me by several miles, right? And if I'm to stay there and then look up and ask myself, oh, she's so ahead of me, I feel like the best thing I need to know is to understand, yes, that it is very uncomfortable for me to walk at her pace, right? So understanding is always a thing. I already know that I don't like walking. It causes more discomfort for me. Like, this is it. I understand that if I walk faster than I can do, I, I would have to stop on the way. I won't even cover the intended miles or the intended kilometers, trust me. But if I walk according to my pace, I'm able to finish it up. One thing is certain, all of us will arrive. That I'm sure of. That I am very sure of. All of us will arrive if we don't yield to the obstacle we encounter on the road, right? We will still arrive there. So basic understanding of your capabilities, your abilities, of the things you can do at that point in time is also one of the reasons why the unconscious comparison cannot escalate to jealousy or depression and the rest of them. So this is me saying that when we sit back and think about life, think about the different aspects of our life, think about every other thing that happens, the different encounters, the different experiences, our different accomplishments. When we think about our career, when we think about our professional career, our academic career, when we think about our relationships and the rest of them, it's easy to sit back and feel left behind. It's easy. Yes, when you think about them. Normally, it may just be you thinking, not because you have the intent to compare. You may not have the intent to compare. You may not even have the intent to say, see, oh, it's going for Theodora. Oh, it's not going for me. Oh, Theodora is there. Oh, I'm not there. And the rest of them. While all those things may be a factor, you may not have the intent to compare. But then there is this unconscious comparison that comes up without your consent. It just comes up, right? But now this is a case of, do you want to sit on that unconscious comparison and just let it stop with that feeling of being left behind and not let it breed jealousy and depression or escalate to that? Or do you want to just, okay, sit back and then allow it escalate and then allow it just get you to a place where you're necessarily jealous over nothing, and or maybe, and then at the end of the day you just say, I'm angry at this and that, everything is compound, and at the end of the day you see yourself feeling depressed. So this is just me saying that those things are inevitable. You see the feeling of being left behind, whether you call for it or you don't call for it. There is that unconscious part of you that will just sweep in comparison immediately. But it is your ability to overcome it that matters. It is your ability to ensure that it doesn't breed things that affect you or the people around you. And that is why we have to position our heart well. We have to position our heart in such a way that it is focused on gratitude, it is focused on contentment, it is focused on understanding of who we are, where we are, what we are, our abilities, our capabilities, and so many other things, right? Okay, yeah. So at the end of the day, this is just it. This is the way we are able, this is how we can be able to wake up every morning and take follow, or let me just say, follow our path one step at a time. Take just do the much we can, do our best, do our best, right, without having to measure your measure yourself, measure your progress, your accomplishment with that of others, if you ask me. So yeah, that is it. And I just don't know. Like I said, sometimes or most of the times when I record a podcast and whenever I'm talking about all these things, I don't even know how they come up. And then I feel like I'm also talking to myself, I'm advising myself, right? I'm suggesting to myself, this is it, and this is what is obtainable. This is what could be best for you. So this is just me saying that I don't even know who these suggestions are for. I don't even know who this podcast is for. I don't know who it is going to inspire more. I don't even know who it is going to encourage or motivate more. But I just hope that it gets to the person that needs it out there. And I am so grateful that you listened and watched up to this moment, right? And thank you for listening to this episode of Thrive and So podcast. And I hope to see you next week by the grace of God. Yeah.